Hello, Internet. Welcome here. Thank you for your time. We know it's precious, we're grateful that you come to us to watch these videos. And I would like to invite you, if you feel you have a story, or even if you don't, come and talk to us. Let this legacy not die with you. Let your children and grandchildren and all our enemies, like klomp takhare, the liberals, well, let them come and see what's actually the truth. Let them see what happened. Let our own children, the ones who's been taught all sorts of rubbish in school these days, let them come and see us. Let them come and experience what it was like actually during those times from our view. Now, talking about views, some time ago I was at the Kalahari desert. I was at the farm. There was like a 32Bn Recce group meeting going on, like a reunion. Fantastic atmosphere, fantastic people, great videos came out of it. And also there was a fellow called Willem Ratte. Now, Colonel Rata is famous, he's well known. And may I say, if you do a Google search on the man, you will probably find a completely different story of what actually is going on in his mind. And at some stage in the future, I'm sure that Colonel Rata will actually speak to legacy when the time is right. But for now, I got hold of two of the people who served with him in different eras. The one is Kevin Fitzgerald, and the other one is Joe Santa Clara. And they made a good video for us where they spoke about their experiences at the 32Bn Recce wing, which of course Willem Ratte commanded after France 4 he left for one reconnaissance commando. What I wanted to know from Fritzie and Joe is, what is it about Willem Ratte? What made you people after 42 years still respect the man? And what is it? What happened? What is it about Willem Ratte? And so this is what they answered me.
To, I think, go back to Willem's and Canning Neck to spot people that were motivated, wanted to serve, points to him as a person that had the leadership qualities within himself that he wanted to see in others. My history with Willem begins in early 1980. Up until that point, the reconnaissance group had not had the experienced leadership that we actually required. We led ourselves, in fact. And that's what makes this reconnaissance group and the original members so unique. That for almost 12 months, we were actually led by our fellow compatriots. Yet, we achieved phenomenal results during that time. Unknown to us, Willem had come down from the Rhodesian SAS, where he had a fantastic reputation, and had joined the SADF, and had been sent to C2 Battalion. C2 Battalion leadership recognized in him they finally had somebody with a special forces background, experience and knowledge that could take their recce group to new heights under his leadership. He arrived in the unit, I believe, in August of 1979 and was posted to Buffalo in order to familiarize himself with how C2 Battalion operated, because Willem had not served in a unit like C2 Battalion that was several times larger than the Rhodesian SAS. He was used to small group deployments from a small specialist unit and had never ever served in a unit like the SAS, like C2 Battalion. So Willem went to Buffalo and he set about familiarizing himself with our structure, He gave lectures and got into Buffalo daily routine and the unit's daily routine and began to familiarise himself about how the unit was deployed and their tasks on deployment. During this phase, Willem was also obviously on the lookout for potential recruits to come across to the Recce group. And amongst these were two people, Kevin Sido and Piet van Eerden, who were both sergeants at that time. And they saw in Willem the kind of leader that they knew would enhance their soldiering skills. So they approached Willem and asked if they could join the C2 Battalion Recce group. Willem organised for them to be transferred out of the structure that they were currently in. Kevin came out of Delta Company and Piet was with the C2 Battalion Mortar Support Group. And they were transferred across to Omoni. When we arrived back from leave at the beginning of 1980, there was this tall, wiry, blonde-haired man with the thick bril glasses, with Coca-Cola bottle bottoms as his lenses. The most unlikely looking person that you would expect to have kind of background that he did in Special Forces operations. He had been in the Rhodesian SAS for many years and had vast experience. But this person that you looked like an awkward clerk in the pharmacy shop, who got awkward when you asked him for a packet of condoms. Really out of place, big long feet that looked like skis, walked like he was a disjointed giraffe. More comical character about him than actual serious soldiering character about him at first glance. But within Willem lay a person that was deeply philosophical, highly intelligent, and an excellent military strategist. And it was those qualities that really rose him in the leadership rank. He had a deep understanding of the bush. He had a deep understanding of the kind of warfare that small teams did, and how they could do it effectively, and how to go about doing it effectively. And Willem set about raising the standard, and we had a high bar at that time, but Willem raised it even further. We spent hours practicing landmine laying operations, hours and hours on the shooting range, perfecting our shooting skills, hours and hours of practicing our medical skills, or practicing our signal skills. It was endless procession of perfecting our skills. And it paid us dividends, ultimately. Map reading, all manner of things that would improve our basic skill set, Willem worked on and honed to perfection. He had this very, very troublesome and irritating attitude of calling order groups at the most ungodly hours of the night. Because he was such a productive thinker that Willem would come up with his plan and want to share them with us immediately. And he'd walk around to our individual sleeping quarters and shake us awake and say, guys, I've got an order group at 3:10, time being roughly say 10 to 3. So we had time to go and make ourselves a couple of coffee at the Boma and mumble it to ourselves, and then we all file into the order group room and be amazed by what he was presenting to us. And then a couple of days later, we off go out and execute it. Willem had a very, very loyal following from us. He did not expect of us that which he himself could not do. What we did, he did. He wasn't the kind of leader that would say, follow my example, boys, and then go out with you and do anything but set the example that he referred to. He worked exceptionally hard to make sure that everything we needed was in place. He had endless meetings with our command structure at CTB. At that stage, Commandant Colonel Dion Ferreira, Commandant Eka Victor, Big Daddy, Eddie Viljoen, RSM Pep, and then after him Ikeman, and then also with the adjutants, the company commanders, and all of these people about what they could expect of us and what they should not do with us. Most importantly, what they should not, how they should not deploy us. And as a consequence of that, our reputation started to build, and we got better and better ops, as well as requests from the OCs of other sectors for our services. So we operated in sectors that C2 Battalion was not normally linked to, apart at an area where we deployed from, where the company is deployed from. But the reconnaissance group was in constant demand to go and assist other sector commanders with issues that we're having, and we would deploy on their behalf into Angola to either go and observe or to have missions that would disrupt the operations of SWAPO that those sectors had become aware of, but do not have the capability to actually attend to themselves, and they passed those tasks unto us. So we operated the length and breadth of Namibia, from the west coast right up to Zambia and beyond, because of the standard that Willem set for us, the standard that he raised to us, and his tactical ability to plan and execute operations. Willem was a hard taskmaster, but he tasked himself doubly hard, and we responded to that. We were very active in our own base of Moni. When our training was over, we got involved in base duties. I used to be very, very proud at that stage of my life of the calluses that I used to have in my hand, because our work was physical. And we did anything and everything that the base commander of Amani would ask if we could get involved in. Willem never turned down those requests. So Amani was not a base camp to us. Amani is where we lived. Amani was where our lives progressed, where we socialized, where we had a fantastic relationship with the base personnel. It was not a camp, it was our home. And we made a contribution to that home by assisting wherever we could. The pub that eventually was built at Amani was dug by us. It was called Stagger Inn. And it was dug underground. We dug that. We assisted with digging the swimming pool. We contributed to base maintenance. So we were always looking to be of use, not only in our combat roles, but any other support role that we could be of use in. And that really caused us to have a broader life view. Don't only look to yourself, don't only look internally. Look beyond yourself. Look how you can be of service to others. And we built a reputation where people wanted to be associated because we had a fantastic attitude. We didn't see ourselves as elitists. We saw ourselves as servants to our country, servants to the SADF, servants to the people of our country, black and white. We really did not perceive ourselves as anything other than people that wanted to be of service in the best possible way that we could be. And that drove our motivation as soldiers to be the best that we possibly could be. So our operations were, I don't think we ever had a failure. In the time that I was in the reconnaissance group, we conducted some very good tactical operations, we conducted some very fantastic strategic operations. Although we were mainly technically operated, we also achieved some fantastic strategic objectives. We embraced almost every form of combat that you could think of, from doing vehicle and personnel ambushes, to base attacks, to reconnaissance work, to river infiltration, vehicle infiltration, signals. It was a broad spectrum of things that we developed a skill set in. And this was all done on the back of Willem's regime that he put in place for us to improve our skills. I had earlier used the term anal, and when I tell you that we were truly anal about our preparation, about the effort that we put into that, we used gas stoves, small gas stoves. We didn't use Esbit, but Esbit gave off a very distinctive smell. We even practiced, not once or twice, we practiced until we got it right, that you wouldn't hear the hissing of that gas, and there wouldn't be a whoosh and a bright blue flame that lit up. Those things were set so low that I don't think a mosquito would have passed out and flown and inhaled some of that gas that's coming out of the canister. But it meant that that flame was not noticeable. We dug those canisters into the ground and cooked into our fire buckets. But that gave us the ability to have warm meals, cook tea or coffee or whatever you wanted. Some people took Milo even. And you could burn the calories that you needed effectively, instead of eating food cold or cooked over little Mickey Mouse Esbit style. We practiced opening and closing our rucksacks. So those straps, those Cordura straps, did not make a sound. Everything that could rattle was taped up. Everything that was loose was tied on a paracord. There was nothing that wasn't attached to something that you could drop inadvertently and leave a definitive indication that you were part of an enemy force. Absolutely nothing was left to chance. We were meticulous about our preparation. We had exhaustive checklists. We tested battery strength before we packed the batteries for our A52 radios or other common means. We waterproofed everything. Our maps were prepared in a specific way. The map was folded so that the coloured portion of the map would be called, we folded towards one another, and the white outer portion we then folded out. The back portion, the white portion, was then spray painted black. We had special map cases that those maps were put into, which were waterproof. We left nothing to chance. Our Morse keys were tested. We had tried to cater for every eventuality. So a failure in something would not lead to our operation being compromised. All of that was put in place by Willem. Willem taught us to be attentive to ourselves, attentive to our fellow team members, attentive to the bush that we're operating in, to be observant, to be alert. These skills were developed. We just weren't born with those skills. We had to work on and enhance those skills, and that was all done under the guidance of Willem. Willem had a fantastic sense of humor as well. He had the ability to laugh at himself, the ability to share a joke. He could laugh at you without making you feel that your integrity had been intact. Just as much as he allowed you to laugh at him and enjoy a joke at his expense. His leadership qualities were exemplary. His effort was above any standard that you could reasonably ask of a person. But the Willem that I knew and grew to love is not the person that I suppose may be portrayed in popular media, where any person with access to a keyboard and the internet or any other social media platform can express an opinion about Willem without actually having ever met Willem. But has a very definitive opinion on who he perceives Willem to be. And it's rather unfortunate that happens, because I think that the way he may be portrayed, the populist way that he may be portrayed, is very far from the person that Willem actually is. Yes, he has a very strongly developed belief system, and that is one of his positives. He believes in people, he believes in you, and he believes in whatever else he may believe in, not to the detriment of anybody. I've never seen him denigrate anybody else's belief. I've never seen that. I've never seen it happen. He does not do that. And I can tell you, there were many of our Ugandan troops that worshipped the ground that Willem walked on. Some of them even named their children after him. They had such respect for him. My loyalty to Willem, I think, will last for eternity. Because that is what he engendered, and that is what he gave us. He is incredibly loyal to us. So I have the utmost respect for Willem. I do not see Willem often. We do not communicate often, because I used to have a very, very busy business life. And Willem is now no longer resident in South Africa, so we can only communicate telephonically. And I've discussed a lot of things with Willem. He is a person that gives a lot of thought to things. He is a very, very observant and thoughtful person. He assesses things before he opens his mouth. So when you have a conversation with Willem, you're having a conversation with a person who has given thought to their expression. He simply does not want to give you an opinion that is any other intent other than what it is his opinion. It's not an opinion to lead you astray, not an opinion to promote a populist viewpoint. It is his opinion. And I value that. Because what you are getting is undiluted integrity. And I think that in a nutshell is what Willem is. He's a person of great integrity. And that is the Willem that I know, and I hope that you as an audience will come to learn. Okay?
I'd like to present my understanding of Willem from not a professional soldier, which I never was. I was a national serviceman. But this man embraced me, a guy that had nothing in life, a young boy. And he taught me integrity to the point where I would stand to my convictions. He taught me that. He taught us how to take care of each other. He's, as Fitzy says, his anal ways of waking us up in the middle of the night and training us and teaching us, his willingness to teach us is uncompromised. We cannot say enough about the man's responsibility and loyalty towards us. We are extremely loyal to him, but his loyalty to us is uncompromised. Whenever we went into a temporary base, which is what we called a TV, we had tasks. And one of my tasks was to bury our radios, and I had to open the ground to cook my food. Willem would always be around. We were never ever left alone. He was there constantly. Even in incidents where I had to do things on my own, Willem would be behind me on the radios at all times. I would not be left alone. So the understanding of Willem needs to be changed. I wouldn't say changed, but people need to understand Willem for what he is. And to know him is to meet him, or to communicate, or speak to those that work with him. There's nothing like working with a man that not only showed integrity, but he shows trust into you, and once he's tasked you to do something, he leaves you. And I say this because I came from an environment during my basic training where every commanding officer would not talk to you but would shout at you. Then I met a man that was the complete opposite. He got the best out of me, he got the best out of all of us by just leading and leading the way and actually doing the work first, showing how it's done. And this is how the loyalty of all the soldiers around him was cemented. This man cannot and will not accept anything lower in the standards than the standards that he set. His standards are supreme. Sometimes very difficult, and sometimes even to the point where we believe we cannot achieve that standard. So that's why you woke up at 3 in the morning for 7 days in a row if you had to, until you got this thing correct. Because when we went into operation, there had to be synergy. Everybody worked in the same way. So I'd like to end off by saying that mine is going to be short and sweet, because it's as a national serviceman, but this man made me the man I am today, a man with integrity, and I have an honest, and he just showed me the way.